Hi everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot. I'm Denise. There won't be any tarot today, it's just going to be entirely astrology. Should have named my channel Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology because I have been an astrologer for 30 years or more. I lost count. Anyway, so today I have so many charts here, but I'm going to do the Pluto return, USA's Pluto return chart, as well as the, so it starts February 20th, 2022. But, you know, we have definitely been in it because Pluto moves at a snail's pace, if not slower. And I believe we've been in it since about 2012 myself. But anyway, it will be exact. So it'll be exact February 20th. And then there's also going to be the retrogradation process that goes in, goes through July and then to December, to the end of the year. So I have a lot of charts here, and I'm going to take you through everything up through the end of the year, except I'm going to do the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. I'm going to do that in a separate video because it warrants its own, video. It's just way too much information to put all together. But so anyhow, with this Pluto return process, I have not only the transits, well, I have the natal, which I will take you through quickly, but I also have the progressions and the solar arcs. So yeah, if I don't get to some major predictions by the end of this video, I will do a separate reading using tarot. Maybe tarot, Lenormand, Kipper, the whole 9 yards. I'll get to the bottom of it. So anyway, let me drop the camera down and show you what I have. Hold on. Okay, so first off, I have to apologize for calling this our natal chart. Whenever we as astrologers run a chart, it usually comes up this way, just in the program. But this would be more of an event chart, because of course the inception, conception, birth of the USA was, many years before. But this is the Sibley chart, the USA Independent Sibley, July 4th, 1776. Is the day that, of course, the Articles of Independence were signed by our founders. So anyway, Ebenezer Sibley is an interesting gentleman, and if you ever see it spelled L-E-Y, it's just a mistake that Dane Rudhyar made years ago, and some people just copied it over not knowing, but this is how you spelled his last name. And Ebenezer Sibley was not only a Freemason, which back in those days, they were pretty much the leaders, builders, leaders, among other things, but he was also an astrologer. So he clocked the time exactly at 5:10 p.m. In 1776, July 4th. So we have him to thank for that. Now, you notice some houses are empty. That doesn't mean anything, like I tried to explain in Trump's, reading. Whenever we have empty houses in our charts, we use the rulers of the cusps, the house cusps, and put planets there, when we're thinking along those lines. Because we have 12 houses and, only 10 major luminaries, planets and luminaries. So anyway, into this chart, well, first off, I have to speak to the fact that Pluto in Capricorn has been going on, as well as, all the planetary transits that are happening all over the world. It affects the entire world. It's not just the USA, but today we have Pluto transiting Pluto. When I get to the transit chart that's right over here, you'll see. But I have to, you want to see this wheel first before I go too far. You're going to see that Pluto's transiting Pluto is right here. conjunct, literally lined up, parallel with, conjoined with, whatever you want to call it, kissing. Pluto kissing Pluto. Ooh, sounds like a party. Anyway, okay, but just to remember, Pluto is the planet of regeneration. For me, that's the way I see it mostly. It represents many things, but primarily it's the regeneration of power. It's death and rebirth. It's destruction. On a personal human level, it's, the dying, the letting go of unhealthy aspects of our ego, where we're trying to be superior to others, unhealthy pride, right? Which, causes unhealthy fear because nobody's all that, right? And then we're afraid of being discovered that we're not all that. So then we have this like mask self that we're walking around with and trying to cover up the pride. Got to hide that pride, got to hide that lower self, Unless you're someone like Trump, he just kind of lets it all hang out, and I think that's why a lot of people had a attraction towards him. But anyway, so back to Pluto. So Pluto, it has to do with major evolution, major human evolution, and big slow change over lifetimes. It honors that life is change. So since 2008. Worldwide, we've been experiencing these issues where, people in power are, corrupt people in power are being exposed because Pluto, like bubbles, brings things up from the hidden realms, or from the underworld and then up into our consciousness so that we can see it. It's not that it wasn't there. It was always there. It's just that now we can see things. So since 2008, when Pluto first began its, transit through Capricorn, we've been seeing these things happen. You can clock that through history. It's really easy to see. Now we're getting to the later degrees. All the signs go from 0 to 29. Well, it won't take long before it gets into. I think Pluto will dip into Aquarius in. I think it's somewhere in 2023, but then it's going to retrograde back. It won't be like fully in there, I think, until it might be 2024. That's another reading later on. So, but anyway, back to this chart. We're not going to be done with this round of transformations, that happen Pluto takes 243 to 248 years to get around the zodiac. We won't be fully done with Pluto and Capricorn until it fully enters Aquarius. I'm pretty sure it's November 2024. I'm pretty sure it's November. So we can look that up later, but I think that's where it's headed. Or that's exactly that's headed. And then Pluto's headed towards the south node of Aquarius, you can see here. So that will be another, we're going to be going through that. So because the south node is a past life point. It's a karmic point. And being that it's in Aquarius, that's part of USA's karmic issue, along with Aries down here at the IC. Oh, and you guys, please, when I'm speaking to negative issues in politics, and I'm using the signs. Let's say you have a sun in Aquarius or moon in Aquarius or whatever. Please don't take any of this personally, because I have to read it sometimes in the dark side, and it would not apply to you. I don't think anybody watching this video would have any of these negative qualities that I'm going to be talking about. It's rare, but yeah, there are some crazies out there, some crazy tarot readers I've come across, and some crazy astrologers too. So, but please don't take it personally if you're one of my subscribers, because I really, really, really don't think that it would apply to you. So, but anyway, On July 4th, 1776, we had our Declaration of Independence, which of course was our declaration away from British rule and taxation without representation. And the problem I see with this time, because these planets, this chart is just a reflection of the times back then, the way it was during those times. What I see, of course, as anybody would say without probably even looking at an astrological chart at all, is that slavery was legal. And we can see that here with this disconnection. In Aquarius, the dark side of Aquarius is being detached and disconnected from the heart. The North Node up here, so the South Node would be the karma and the past lives of past life wisdom, past life resources, past life experience. But the dark side of, like I said, Aquarius can be that, we're cut off from our heart. And when it comes to the North Node this is why we always have, the polarities, which is the way I teach astrology is through the polarities. The North Node in Leo is all about open-hearted loving and generosity. Right? Now, it can be willful too. Like the dark side of Leo can be like my will, my way, and let's just do it no matter what the price is, and then we'll figure it out later. So we have to be, cognizant of the nodes here, because the nodes represent the consciousness that humanity is going through, and unconscious levels of unconsciousness and consciousness that we are going through at any given time. And they change every year and a half. They change. But anyway, with the fact that slavery was legal, even though it was abolished after the Civil War, and Reconstruction came in, which was, another Pluto vibration as Pluto was moving closer to the South Node. By transit, that's how it goes. Moon keeps going, So I think that I really feel like Reconstruction is still in process. Otherwise, all average people of color would have the same earnings as white people, right? I mean, although my heart goes out to all, no matter the color of our skin, as we wake up to our self-worth, which affects our earning potential. But it's precisely, that we're dealing with now with the nodes newly into Taurus and Scorpio for the next 18 months. And then it'll go through the Libra Aries Libra axis because the nodes go backwards. Crazy, huh? But it's because they're a reflection of the moon. So anyway, with Taurus and Scorpio, we're in that realm of money and control. Taurus, money; Scorpio, control. Taurus, my resources, my money. Scorpio, how do I share my resources, my money? Do you share your resources with me, and do I share mine with you? Taurus and Scorpio is also the polarity of, when it comes to politics, sex scandals. So we'll see that when we get to the other chart. I'm not going to talk about sex scandals, but we'll see the transits of the nodes. But I have to speak to it in this natal chart because it's like the evolutionary polarity gateway of any chart. So just to hold that in mind, that the biggest problem here has to do with this being cut off from the heart and my way or the highway kind of issues. And then with this sextile here to Uranus, especially because Uranus can be soul shocks, the sixth house would be everything to do with daily life, the way we set up the structure of our daily lives. And, it's great that it's open and maybe getting out of duality, but no, not really. And even though sextiles are good opportunities, so natally, there's, or you could say intrinsically in this chart for the USA, there will always be opportunities to heal this duality. But what I see this as being is the indigenous people who were just taken out and pushed off their land, right? So being that with the nodes, traveling through, because the North Node is in Taurus, and Uranus is in Taurus since 2018, through April of 2026. It's like we're all waking up to our deeper values, and how hard, it is for someone who hasn't been honored in just being their natural, self, and this prejudice and racism, for just the color of your skin. It's ridiculous. So, we're hardwired for happiness, and how are we going to be happy if some people are less than? I mean, how does that work out? It's ridiculous. It's just utterly insane. So these, these negative traits like hatred and greed and revenge and power over others, it might be what all souls on earth have endless lifetimes to work through, which is why we keep, coming back in until we get to a place of pure love. But now with this, maybe I should show you here on the transit chart. There's a new phase of Saturn to Pluto, or Saturn to Uranus. So see how Saturn's transiting here? Excuse me. And there's natal Uranus here. And then there's also transiting Uranus over here. Excuse me. We've had this Saturn square Uranus for quite some time. We had it exact. See how Saturn's at 17 and Uranus is at 11. We were having, Saturn square Uranus, which we had the insurrection. We had many issues. We had rebellion, Uranus rebellion, because people's values have changed. But does that mean that you want to go and kill other people and this racism? I mean, these people who have aligned with Trump, of course they're racist, whether they know it or not. But there's, this new phase coming in now. We have Saturn and Uranus going through a new phase. So the issue there is that Uranus is now leading the way, and it was retrograde, now it's direct, and Uranus is the great awakener. It's meant to wake us up. And here, natally, it's meant to wake us up to diversity, being in Gemini, right? Well, we still have a lot of work there, don't we? And, of course, the USA has had... it's working to I think, what would it be, about its third Uranus return, because it takes 84 years to get all the way around. And because it's in Taurus now at approaching, we'll have its, USA will have its third Uranus return somewhere in the future. I'm not doing math right now, you guys. So anyway, this new phase of Uranus, transiting Uranus, leading the way in our fifth house of creativity and, in love and pleasure. True positive pleasure only comes from love. And true positive pleasure comes from being in touch with your spirit. And that connection is heartfelt. It doesn't come from your head. It comes from your heart. So when your head is aligned with your heart, then you're going to make good decisions, and you're going to be inclusive of others, and there will be, equality. So Uranus also is about, it also has to do with honoring our uniqueness, and to help us, like literally communicate and think about our brothers and sisters in equality and geared towards a greater good of all. Just like it was written in the Declaration of Independence. It was something like, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, like innate connection into their creator with certain, unalienable rights. And then the bottom line is just, like I was speaking to, the pursuit of life, or pursuit of liberty and happiness. Was it life, liberty, and happiness, I think? I'll have to look that up. But anyway, that is so Uranian and so Aquarian. This Uranus South Node trine over here to, this Aquarian South Node trine Uranus. That is one of the beautiful things in the USA chart. And this was an intention. This was our founders' intention. And yeah, they had problems. They were slave masters. They had slaves. They all, they thought that was just fine. It's not, and it never was. And that's, the big awakening that needs to change there. But the main problem here in this chart is that Pluto, the evolution of the soul of America, Pluto's retrograde. So any point here, I'm not going to pay a whole lot of attention to Eris, but Pluto, any point here that has any red, the degrees are written in red, that means it was retrograde. I probably should, here, I could fix that. Wait, can I? Do I have? No, I don't have a red pen right here. And if I do this, just remember, these are planets that were retrograde. Okay, so we, need to think more inwardly. Notice we have this Pluto opposition here. And Pluto's retrograde and Mercury's retrograde. Mercury is about the way we think. It's our self-talk. It's our mental beliefs. It's the messages that bubble up from our awareness. And Pluto is our deep soul awareness. So with this Pluto retrograde in the natal chart, this indicates that there was a tremendous amount of deep soul work needed at that time. And we could say that it's largely been accomplished because now, 246 years later, Pluto has gone direct by progression, of course. But some people, so the Pluto retrograde is, no longer retrograde. But some people still falsely believe that any person of color are in some way less than. It hurts me to even say that, to even utter those words out loud. But that is precisely what is up for, for transformation, for healing, for, it just has to break through and clear. But that is precisely what's up for healing with this Pluto return. And we do have, of course, many other things going on in the USA, but all over the world with the pandemic. But that's more of a Neptunian thing. It's a Pluto thing too, though, but I'll talk more about that later. So, but with this chart, there's some beauty here. And then the way astrology works, it cracks me up. Thursday, so this happened on a Thursday. Thursdays are ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter's conjunct the Sun. And this stellium we have right here, notice how we have the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus all in Cancer. This speaks to our, I suppose, or addresses our group consciousness as being family, that we hold family and the growth of our souls as sacred. Now, the challenging aspect of Cancer can be expressed through traumas from the past, because it's literally right here. We've got this South Node in conjunct Jupiter. So this, we can't see things. They're coming from over here. Maybe somebody's hiding. I'm seeing this as Native American people that were already here in the USA, and then these guys come in, these, you know, Confederates come in and push them off their land and kill them and everything else. I mean, I don't even want to think about how bad it was. It's one of those things that it pains me to no end. But with the Sun conjunct Jupiter and Venus, it does bring in the qualities of Sag, because Jupiter rules Sag. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, of course. So Sag needs the, you know, and the moon and Mercury as well ruling this house. You could say this house, this seventh house of relationship and others, is loaded to the max. So to blend it all together, the way I see it is that this Sun conjunct Jupiter and Venus brings in, you know, Sagittarius, which needs to have the freedom to survive, the freedom to grow. And then Mercury, of course, in Cancer is retrograde, and that shows that we need to go within and think about how we can try and support all people making their way to, you know, that intention for a new life. And the Sun itself, you know, represents life. And because it's with, you know, joined with Jupiter, the planet of growth and healing, blessings and expansion, plus Venus, the planet of unity and, you know, money and values, but mostly unity and values, we have the start of an evolving democracy here, of course. So, but anyway, and it's helpful too that our chart is ruled by Sag, we have a Sagittarius ascendant, and the ascendant always magnetizes, so it's like putting Jupiter here as well. Our chart is literally ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter's over here in the Sun, or with the Sun in the 7th. So there's, you know, we could see, like back then it was easy to see that we had a devotional type of nurturing interest in each other's survival, but that we also honored our freedom. You know, we were in it together, right? And then with Mars there, even though it's, you know, not tight, well, it's not a tight orb, but it's kind of close. But still, this aspect here is about bringing in that new thinking, lots of energy into new ways of new thinking, and then networking, you know, in Gemini, especially with Mercury up here, you know, because Mercury rules Gemini as well as Virgo. And we have Neptune up here in Virgo, so it brings in this this wonderful connection in networking, bringing things together, thinking things through, bringing in new ideas mostly. But Mars can be challenging in Gemini because the mind can be racing and needs to slow down to be in peace and to feel before making decisions. Plus, with the Sun square our natal, you know, Saturn in Libra up here, right? See how we've got 13 degrees, and then this red line here is squaring Saturn. Well, that can be very challenging when it comes to the lessons that we're going to, because Saturn is always trying to master, and in Libra it's about relationships. We could just keep having these lessons over and over and over, and our problems will continue with equal rights until we evolve. Right? Because Saturn's the gatekeeper to mastering self-responsibility in any chart. So until we get completely, fully, you know, geared towards equality, these patterns will continue. We will, because Saturn, you know, moves around the chart every 28, 29 to 30 years, and we just keep, you know, going through it. Because evolution that's the key. That's the way we're all going, whether we want to or not. And a Pluto transit can, have you like, my friend over at Foolish Tarot, she says, let go or be dragged. And she's right. It's like you're going to get there eventually, whatever it is. So you might as well just surrender and open up to love. I mean, that's the deal. So, but anyway, Saturn can also be the rules, the regulations, and boundaries, of course. Boundaries, definitely. And remember, in this chart, we have yet to abolish slavery. And then notice this, the trine to here, the trine to Gemini, or I'm sorry, Aquarius, Uranus, Saturn trine Uranus in Gemini. Well, this feels to me like, because trines are usually good, right? They're usually good. They bring in grace and ease, usually. But to me, I'm seeing this as a connection. I'm not going to say any aspect is good or bad. I'm just going to say that these are connections until they get to the good place, which would be love and equality for all human beings. So in this case, I think it was all too easy to kind of numb out to the pain of the 4 million slaves who built this nation without their freedom. Not mentioning what they had to do to try and become part of the Reconstruction and try and work their way out of slavery. And, anyone with a connection to their spirit can imagine that it violates the laws of nature and spirit to own another soul. You can't, you never own anyone else's soul. That's just dark. It's the darkest of the dark, let alone their whole family and future generations. So we're still dealing with that. We can see the darkness here again with this square, to Uranus in the 6th with Saturn and Libra in the 10th, as I was, showing here, which I'll get more into that chart. It shouldn't. But you can see it here in the natal chart. And then up here with, speaking of the 10th house, because the 10th house is how we participate with the world, or this point, this midheaven point. And, this can be love, this can be participation down here. Or up here, I should say, down here at the IC, it can be the way that we connect from our roots, So our roots are in pioneering. This is Mars rules Aries here, so it's kind of like putting Mars right there. But Mars is up here in the 7th, so all these pioneering relationships where we have connected. But then to focus in up here with Neptune, because it plays a big part here. Neptune in the 9th. So the 9th house is about politics, it's about direction, it's about our belief system primarily. And in Virgo, we might be still trying to decide what we truly believe in at that time. And maybe for all times, when there's that type of a placement. But transits will bring it through, if Pluto through the 9th will change that. Mars every 2 years going through the 9th house will help change it too. Because the belief systems are the most important thing in any aspect of evolving. So in this 9th house of direction, it's also, the 9th house is also courts of law. And this shows where the founders would continue to need to address the false belief that they had any right to do whatever they wanted in the name of so-called progress. This is one of the aspects that gives voice to the genocide and the relocation of the, all of our indigenous people. We still haven't made reparations with any of these people of color, right? So Jupiter expansion, because, notice we have all the squares up here from Neptune to the stellium. The challenge there, it can be a strength once it's healed, but for now it's still a challenge, many challenges, is that this expansion, Jupiter expansion without the care, right? Because of this inconjunct down here to the south node that I was speaking to earlier, it was, and it still is, our karmic issue. It's still our karmic lesson. And that is such a big part of the Pluto return. And then, with the nodes, the south node down here in Aquarius, what's important with this, like declaration of independence, that shows the values of our society at that time and the intention for freedom and liberation from, of course, from British rule, and the courage with the Leo North Node to go for it, to join together, join all of our resources to create a new way of life. But the polarity of that Leo and Aquarius is we're in fixed fire and air. Passionate courage to a better life. And then that's further reiterated with our Aquarian moon in the third house here, which also trines Venus, up here in the seventh house of relationship. So community and thinking and opening up to new things, and then all those relationships to help us open further, and we're in it together. It's a meeting of the minds to create a new community of, basically like-minded, you could say Aquarius like-minded, and then friends and family and friends, right? Because and then we've got the Gemini there. Gemini and Aquarius is very attuned to friends and goals, common goals, and like-minded, like kindred spirits. But we need to address Chiron and Aries down here in the fourth house of our roots, and it opposes Saturn up here in the 10th house of purpose and our mission in life. But this would encompass all of our judicial systems as well too, because Saturn rules our government and all of those institutions. And then, with Pluto, even though there's no aspects to Saturn, still, this would be that power, those power plays, because we're talking anyone in a governmental position, we're even talking like popes here, we're talking even religious so-called authorities, which it's like, ugh. And then we're also talking SCOTUS, right? Supreme Court of the United States. Yeah. And we can't ignore the fact that Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn is the planet that rules Capricorn. Pluto is also it's like Scorpio, Mars, quality. So blend all that together and we can see this. It's kind of, like a recipe for evolution that we've been going through. So, but anyway, so this Pluto and Capricorn from our second house of values to the 8th house of joining forces for good, that's in this cardinal movement-oriented, so we've got fire and air here, and then we have a lot of cardinal energy here, and Capricorn is cardinal, which is movement, means movement-oriented. We have the fire down here. Chiron, Chiron in Aries is like, what about me? Don't I matter? What about me? Right? This is where everyone was, and now we're going through Chiron in Aries again. Chiron takes 51 years to get around the chart. But we are going through Chiron and Aries again. And there are many souls on the planet who were born with Chiron and Aries, and they will be having their Chiron return. And these issues will come up. They will definitely come up. It's the need to feel that you belong. Well, the lesson there is to matter to yourself and belong to yourself. That's the key. And because of this opposition in Saturn, of course, Saturn in Libra, of course, this is up, yeah, up for healing. So healing is good. It's okay for things to come up. And then with oppositions, yeah, there's 180 degrees away from each other, but there's a reflection. And then when the issue is healed, we have a big breakthrough. We have big breakthroughs. And Chiron's a little further out than Saturn, so it's, you can say the slower moving planets are leading, but I feel like Chiron's leading here because no one can ever get away from their wounding that they need to heal. And our deepest wounds turn into our greatest gifts when they're healed. I mean, they've always been there, hiding underneath. We just have to go through the pain and the trauma, which is not easy. So, but anyway, we're dealing with, the movement is always going to be geared towards our freedom because of Jupiter ruling our Sagittarius ascendant. All these cardinal movement-oriented signs, they do flow well together, but, all these breakthroughs need to happen in order to evolve, right? And the movement will always come in, I think, with Jupiter here, or Jupiter ruling, this ascendant. And then the moon is the co-ruler here as well because, No, it's not. I take that back. Yeah, no, because the moon's in Aquarius. Yeah, no. If we had any co-ruler, I guess it would be Mars and Pluto up in here. Yeah. I feel like it's just solidly in Sag, right? So, but anyway, let's see, what else? Before we go into the transits. I think the major thing is that just to remember, like it's the truth, because remember, love and truth will always prevail. And the truth is that the people have the power. And yeah, we're dealing with people versus, dictatorial, autocratic type of abuses. But we're not only fighting for our own innate power, we're also fighting to protect the earth. And then with Saturn here, I'm sorry, not Saturn, Chiron squaring Mercury and opposing Saturn, those deeper gifts will come through. Once those deeper psychological issues are healed within each one of us, the issues around slavery, the issues around, reparations, I believe, need to be made on some level. If it's not monetarily, it's at least on some level. And yeah, we could say that that we have gone through some of those times when we have, I forget the name of those times that we've had, they were employment type of opportunities for, I think they called it equal employment opportunities, something like that. Those bills that helped people of color, of any color. It's like, white people kind of had to stand aside and wait. Like I remember my eldest as a firefighter went through that, where he couldn't get hired on, even though he was truly, truly qualified. He couldn't get hired on until that I think it was the Equal Rights Amendment or something like that. It dissolved in 2000. So he had to wait. So he was, older. Usually they'll get in their 20s, mid-20s to 30 at the latest. He had to wait till he was 30. So, yeah, I think it was the Equal Rights Amendment. So there have been some improvements. And yeah, it was painful for him. He was like, I don't care if I'm plaid or what color I am. I should, if I can do the job, I should be able to get in. But he had to wait. So, he had to go through his stuff around that. And but it's trying to heal this false belief that anyone is, fundamentally better or less than another. And that's the deepest soul issue that I see in this chart. So until racism and sexism and all these other isms that separate ourselves from each other are healed, we are still, the USA and any other country is still a work in progress. And that is literally the human condition. Seriously. So, okay, let's bring in the transits again. And I'll take you through, and things should go much more quickly now. So let's go with Pluto here. So Pluto has a trine to our natal Neptune going on. You can see 27. It's actually gone past 27 to 22 up here. We've already had that. And that expands our awareness. That helps us to discern. But it can be kind of compulsive as to, the details, and kind of diluted, if not on a path, towards love. So, of course, it's always about love. And Mars here is going through that same trine to Neptune. And Venus conjunct Mars, we're all having this. So we're all having all of these transits. So here's the natal chart in the middle. I'm sorry, I should have said in the beginning. This is the USA's natal chart in the center, and then these are the outer planetary transits. The sun will move really quickly. I'm not going to address probably even the sun and the moon or even Mercury, but let's stick with these outer planetary transcendent type of transits that the outer planets give us. They give us the opportunity to evolve. So Venus and Mars, they move quickly, but we've got this lineup coming through where they are going to move, won't be too long before we have, and if you care about, watching things like that, I do weekly videos in my membership, and I'm going to start opening that up to the public as well, that my members will always get it earlier on Thursdays, and you guys will get it on Saturdays, but I do the weekly transits for the week, for Sunday through Saturday. I'll be doing that every week for you guys, starting next week, for the public. So we're all going to have this Venus, which is our values. In Capricorn, it's about our power and our integrity and our monetary capacity, money and structure and the structure of our money. And then Mars, it is this that desire to have stability and structure. If you guys know the tarot at all, it's kind of like these two planets together remind me of the King and Queen of Pentacles. And they're going to slide in right in here to give us an even more deeper soul connection to that. And notice here, we don't have Pluto retrograde anymore. But this Pluto return is connecting exactly. You can see it's 27 to 33, and this is why this is happening on February 20th, right? At 3:48 p.m. Eastern Time. And, and then we'll get into the transits later when Pluto gets over the South Node. I will do another video on that. But Mercury, notice how Mercury right here is lined up exactly as well. So Mercury is, the messenger, right? And Mercury is giving us new information to free ourselves from the past, because this is the past right here. This is the past. This is the past. Saturn is the past. I don't know. I kind of look at the whole chart as being karmic, but we do have some particular karmic, signs, messages that can come through in any chart. So we've had Saturn going through. Remember when we had that Saturn-Pluto conjunction? Remember when Jupiter was Saturn, and then both were conjunct with Pluto? So Pluto goes really, really slow, slowest moving planet. And the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, they move more quickly. So they'll just kind of line up. But slower moving planets are the ones with the power, because they're like holding space they're guiding us to get in alignment with, get back into alignment with the forces of love, because that's where we came from. At least that's what I believe. That's where we all hail from. So Saturn through this second house, which is almost, it's almost done. It was about a 2 to 2.5 year transit, has been helping us get in touch with our values. And of course, we remember we had that great reset from COVID, right? A lot of people working from home, a lot of people quit their jobs because they weren't safe and they're never going back, and they started their own business and things are great, and maybe it's online. That's Aquarian. That's Aquarian. And with I believe, because Mercury conjuncted this south node, it helped us wake up to our power to think in a different way and move forward. But anyway, on another level too, was Saturn having already crossed over the south node. We could say that we had a karmic pull, Saturn being karma, kind of sucking out whatever needed to be revealed. And this is what brought out these rebels that, they got incarcerated, but because they had to go through this, but, the insurrectionists that went in and did what they did. And these are, I'm giving you clues as to things that have already happened, or I'm giving voice to things that you already know have already happened, and which is why I'm saying we've been in the Pluto return for, I believe, the last 12 years, but looking here, we could say at least the last 2 years. So just because the day it goes direct, or just because the day it's exact, I should say, that doesn't mean that the world's going to blow up. It's just not the way it works. And then, some astrologers might say that because of, like we're reading this as tropical, and then there's also this sidereal, they could say, though, it'll be in a couple years more. I don't think so. I'm not in alignment with that belief. But anyway, I'm not going to put down any other astrologer either. It's all interesting to think about, is the way I look at it. But I don't see that. What I see is that our democracy has held, and otherwise Trump would have been reelected. Otherwise, Mike Pence would not have done what he did when he certified the electors' votes. And there weren't any electors who rebelled against Biden and went towards Trump, right? Except for those fake electors. Now they still have their comeuppance. Justice will still be served eventually, but meanwhile, we can see how Saturn crossing over that south node pulled out all these old racist. I mean, I believe a lot of these guys, and especially people like Mitch McConnell, I think they're old Civil War slave masters, and some of the other ones too. I mean, they're very, very strategic in their thinking, and they're very they're racist as all get out too, but. Yeah, I feel like they could be like the Civil War guys that gave out the orders, the sergeants, generals, all those other lieutenants, all of those other things. And then we had the soldiers. And I'm thinking that the people who actually came in and, the insurrectionists that came in and did their thing, I'm feeling like they were soldiers who maybe lost in the last, during the Civil War, and maybe wanted to fight again. And there's this hatred for colored people, and there's hatred for the other, whatever the other is, because remember, that's part of the issue with our natal chart here. So, but let's get back to the transit. So, Neptune down here, squares natal Mars over here. See how we've got 21 degrees Cancer, and then up here to 21 degrees Gemini, that's a square. Neptune moves really quickly. Pluto, remember, Pluto goes the slowest. Next would be Neptune. And I had to address Saturn because it's right there, you know, in our house of values. But now I need to talk to, we could talk to, well, I'm going to do a separate video on Jupiter conjunct Neptune. There you can see Jupiter's moving more quickly this way. Jupiter gets around the whole chart in 12 years and stays about 1 year in each house. So by April, I think it's April 12th, pretty sure it's April 12th, yeah. These two will be conjunct, and I'll do another chart or another reading just on that in the USA. For now, what I can say is be very careful, because I feel like this is going to be another blow up of COVID. You know, please keep wearing masks. Please don't stop. It's not over. So, but anyway, with Neptune here moving slowly, squaring Mars, it's sitting here, right? It's been happening though, because you can see 21 to 22. It was exact at 21. It's now moving forward because none of the outer planets are retrograde anymore, right? Which is good. Things are moving forward now. We're not stuck. But it's kind of like, you know, can we keep up with the news? Can we keep up with all this information? Can we keep up with all the corruption that's being exposed is the question. But anyway, Neptune square Mars can bring in the issue of truth versus lies, misinformation, disinformation campaigns of, you know, absolute lies just to try and like fire up the masses and get them going. This is what Trump did. This is, you know, the biggest problem with him is that he's just this instigator of chaos, right? I mean, with his chart, it's like it's all hot air, and it's this instigator of hatred and just give me the money, basically. That's what he's all about. So, you know, people like Alex Jones and Trump, they really know how to fire up their base to get them in, and Fox News knows how to do that too. They get people to fight each other. And that's the oldest manipulation that causes people to go to war, is to get, you know, two sides. And war makes money, right? There's the, you know, the industrial military complex. You know, you can do some reading about that, and it's just so painful. But the deal is, you know, it pays to the people that want the money, and then we all lose our lives. Right? It's just crazy. But that's part of this information warfare here. And then on another level too, we've got, because of, now again, this is a trine up here to, that's happening to, and it's not exact yet, but it's getting there, to Mercury and Cancer. This could fire up this old, like, because the dark side of Cancer can be this old patriotic, you know, bullshit. And, you know, so Civil War mentality, Confederate, you know, we saw, thank goodness, all these statues are down. But we saw them fighting about that. Don't want those, you know, don't want those old guys, you know, gone. We want to keep those statues up there. Meanwhile, to drive by one, if you're a black colored person or a slave, had an, you know, slavery in your history, in your family, which, like, probably every black person has, they had to, like, drive by those statues all the time, right? Can you imagine? I mean, how painful that would be. So, but anyway, we're talking, there's this possibility for religious fanatics here with this connection, and that's who do we see, like the My Pillow guy. I loved seeing that he was going to take 10,000 pillows to across to Canada to the truckers, you know, all these pillows, right? It loaded up his truck and he couldn't get across the border because he wasn't He couldn't get across the Canadian border because he wasn't vaccinated. Oh, the irony, right? That's that kind of energy right here. So we might see more of that, which to me was quite amusing. Okay, so what else? Neptune is moving forward with that. It's either the information of either, because third house, and the third house is all about gathering information. It's also our community and siblings, but gathering information as to, is the information truthful, or is it in any way Neptune distorted? Is it in any way confusing or nebulous, right? Or is it designed to just trick people? Because a half-truth is still a lie, right? So this can be really tricky information that comes out that we are going to, this is voter suppression. This is, you could say that the third house could be partly considered, free will, because you get the information and then you can make a decision. Mercury's up here. Mercury rules the third house. So it's like putting Mercury right here within, and that connection to Neptune, putting it right here in a confusing place. And Neptune rules this house. Mars, because look at this, man. We have Aquarius, Pisces, and so these two cusps right here show that the third house of the USA chart is ruled by Uranus and Mars. Uranus and Mars can be war. Neptune rules Pisces, and Jupiter was a co-ruler, but once we discovered Neptune, now it's pretty much just Neptune, but I still remember Pisces as ruling, Jupiter is ruling Pisces. So delusion could be part of the issue here, and confusion, and then because there's confusion and distortion and lies, then there's like shocking, I'm thinking, Aquarius here and Mars, like shocking, because, to read any astrological chart, it's always about the energy of the planets. So it's like shocking little information wars, right? So I don't see a civil war happening again. I see misinformation. I see information warfare happening. And that especially will be the issue when Pluto moves into Aquarius, because Uranus and Aquarius rule the internet. So, we're going to have to be very, very safe and very careful. Anyway, okay, so what else with the transits here? Yeah, and notice how everything's down here at the lower half of the chart, which has to do with, the only thing that's up there is the moon. I'm not really going to talk about that, except for to see that the moon in Libra would be very caring and all about equality, and how beautiful that happened on this day, right? Because the moon in Libra can be very, very caring. It's Libra, I see it as like the bridge, to love. Now, but all of these transits down here speak to, this transformation, this evolution that needs to happen within. Because the bottom 6 houses of the chart, especially this, these quadrants here, this first quadrant here, is all about the changing and transformation of our values and the way we think, right? And then this second half over here has to do with, okay, now we have certain values and beliefs, and we've learned enough, right? I'm speaking to second and third house. Then that brings in the ability to establish roots. But look at this Chiron return again that's approaching. For it would be, I guess, its 5th time when it makes it around again. And So our roots that, everyone matters. It's not just Black Lives Matter. I mean, Black Lives Matter, the real meaning with that is Black lives need to be honored as more than, or just as equal. It's just the split between anybody saying, well, every lives matter. Don't, that bullshit that came up there, when that transit was happening, that was part of this Neptune in the second house, or I'm sorry, Neptune in the third house. Neptune's been in our third house for a long time. When it gets to, and Neptune can dissolve whatever house it's transiting through. And of course, we had Neptune cross over the moon. When that happened years ago, this would be dissolving some old ego fragments of feeling, in Aquarius, I'm feeling like it's better than, some people are better than others. It's a lie, right? And now when it gets down here at some point, it's going to be quite, it'll be years from now. But when it gets down here to this IC, Imam Kolai point, this will be a dissolution of, as much as we're ready to be with, and we can only be responsible for ourselves. We can't be responsible for anyone else, but it can dissolve any old war mentality roots or any mentality around, me versus the other, and instead get us in touch with the beauty of how we're all interdependent upon each other. And, like the old acronym of team is together each achieves more. That's the polarity here with Aries at the IC and then Libra up at the midheaven. Remember, because the midheaven is our mission in life, it's our purpose in life as USA citizens, which is, that we're together. I mean, you could just put teamwork up here and bring that in. So let's see. Anything else? Yeah, Mars, transiting Mars over here is applying towards Neptune and that, midheaven point already as well. So again, that's that place where there's that energy and drive. And of course, Mars will conjunct with, won't be too long, along with Venus, will conjunct Pluto, natal Pluto. So this stellium here will be very transformative because Mars moves energy. And then it could also, people with lots of money and so Venus money and lots of energy, Mars, they might be trying to delude, trying to hide and cover because of this connection here. Of course they're going to try and hide their dirt. They're going to try and, but they could, I'm feeling like double speak, where they're, it's just like Trump. Remember he was talking about how, people are flushing toilets 15 times. Well, turns out he was flushing papers down the White House toilet. And then, all these lies about Hillary and Fox promoting these lies. And now Hillary has threatened to sue Fox and threatened to sue Trump, and suddenly they went quiet, right? So these lies and this doublespeak, I feel like that's something we're going to keep seeing a little bit until Mars gets past Pluto. But then, eventually Mars is like shifting the consciousness of our values. And then when it gets to the third house, which, doesn't take long, like I said, it gets all the way around the chart in only 2 years. But when it makes it to the third house, we're in that realm of moving the mind, moving the way we communicate. But meanwhile, we're going to see all the dirt. And Pluto's over here, like purging all the lies and the this information of the past. But Mercury here, moving forward, because this is a direct conjunction here, but moving forward to Saturn is going to catch up soon. And I think some more details about the past are going to come out. There's that very real possibility there. Let's see, what else? It's important to remember that the 9th house is the house of media, and Neptune rules media. So any lies and details about the past will always come out and then help us decide, what do we believe in, right? Individually, what do we believe in? Yeah. And Pluto's already, here's another, so Pluto, transiting Pluto is at 27, and it's already past that opposition. When it was at 24 degrees, it was a direct opposition to, Mercury here. So we've passed that 24 degree point, right? And it's moving towards this way. Pluto opposite the North Node is the same as conjunct the South Node. It's going to purge the past and bring in a new loving reality into the future that we're all joined in together, because we can get on board with that. Because remember, love and truth always prevail. Truth is love, actually, right? So many forms. Love is such a big word. There's so many forms of love. But yeah, so religious fanatics that were energized and funded, those things are going to be coming out even more. And like I said, Neptune rules the media, rules, film, rules gas and oil too. Some more details about that, with that connection. Let's see. Yeah, so this is just the first exact. Okay, so let's go to, what's my next chart? Oh yeah, secondary progressions. I have that over here. Okay, so with this chart, I'm going to prove to you how we've already been into the Pluto return for years. And that's because our progressed sun is at, so progressions are 1 year, everything moves forward around a chart. And with a natal chart, with a human being's natal chart, we don't progress the big outer planets, but we do when it comes to, like a nation or any entity that is older. So anyway, so the sun has progressed. Now we're more Piscean, which is more compassionate, more loving, more intuitive. We can see a bigger picture, maybe more mystical, much more sensitive. The downside of it is victimhood, is being all over the place and not taking responsibility, kind of like flip-flopping around like a fish, So people are finding their way. And then with progressed Mercury over here in Aquarius, or this moon conjunct this together right here, that has already crossed over. These two progressions here have crossed over the South Node, and this shows this brand new way of thinking. I think that what's happening on the news is that the problem is that a lot of lower energy messages are getting way too much airtime. But it's good to stay on top of, what's going on, of course. But I think that the numbers of people who are that deluded, as they were in the past, like those, how many have been locked up now? Is it like pushing 800 or so from the insurrection? Yeah, they did a lot of damage, that's for darn sure. But the truth is, they didn't win. They didn't win, and they've had some painful lessons. But all of this had to do with this transit over the south node here, and that's already happened. The progressed moon, starts a new cycle every 28 to 29 years, which goes along with the Saturn return as well. We can see progressed Saturn's up here in the 11th house of humanity and, more altruistic thinking. And it's progressed in Scorpio, so it's, that probably is part of the reason it was challenging. Some humans with bad karma feeling like they needed to exact revenge, right? Progressed Jupiter up here over the sun is very healing. It has brought families, the healthy part of family together in a stronger way, and then the challenge is to still love the ones who, set really strong boundaries with them, but still love the ones who are deluded. Progressed Mars has helped us get in touch with the need to be in our own authority, right? Be in our own integrity. I mean, we all have that internal moral compass that no one needs to tell us how to, we don't need to go to church or school to learn how to be loving. That's deeply intrinsic inside of who we truly are. So this is a generational progression here where where source energy, compassionate, loving, or delusion, right, or distortion is moving towards our midheaven. It's only 6 degrees there. Actually, only about 5, because this is at 58 minutes here. Yeah. So let's see, what else? Yeah, 5 degrees there. So this can be like, Neptune in Virgo can be divine order at its best, but it can be like lost in space at its worst. And it can be avoidance. The downside with Virgo is that you have to be very careful about avoiding things, getting lost in the details and then avoiding things, and also thinking that you need to be perfect. And so projected outwardly, it would be thinking that anyone in a power position in government has to be perfect and they can't be human, right? Because we're dealing with mass consciousness and subconsciousness with Neptune. But the high qualities of Neptune are connection to your source, right? It's source energy. So, and again, generational here, I gave voice to that. Mars up here is this fighting for fairness over governmental abuses, and especially because of the square Jupiter squaring. Progressed Jupiter here is squaring this Saturn. So it's basically like, what do we really stand for? What do you stand for? We're all going to die someday. What are you going to go down for? Doesn't mean you have to protest in a violent way. I would never say that. But we do have to stand for something. We do have to protect our voting rights, and we do have to vote. Otherwise, we're not exercising our free will. And if we're not exercising our free will and voting, then we're not being self-responsible. And we're not being responsible for the type of reality that we want to create. And we have to always remember, Trump got in because 57% of the voting population did not vote. All right? There was that. Plus, I believe he was installed by Putin and the GOP, the oligarchs. So, what else? Yeah, so I did give voice to unconscious projections that can happen with Neptune. This progressed moon here will become conjunct up here towards the end of the, it's in the fall. It'll be in the fall. So there'll be more of a lineup here that'll be very, very nice. And then the sun will be in direct opposition. It's moving. The progressed sun, you can see it'll go forward a degree every year, and it'll line up at some point with Neptune here. Right? How many degrees? Let's see, 21 to 25. Yeah. So about another 4 years. 2026, the sun will be opposing Neptune. So the progressed sun will shine the light on more spiritual purposes, source energy, but will also shine the light on delusion, right? And then progressed Venus here. Remember, Venus is our values and our money and positive pleasure too, especially in Taurus. That's directly opposing. See how it's at 2 degrees? That's opposing Saturn here. So we're in, this is a test of time, literally Saturn time. But these are both progressions here. And we already had Venus opposing natal, progressed Venus opposing natal Saturn. So now this is about, do we want to dig our heels in for what's right and to fight for the truth, but not in a way that needs to, yes, justice. We want justice, of course. Saturn in Libra is all about justice. But we don't have to want to kill people because they believe something different than us, right? And here's another proof of that insurrection that didn't work, right? You could call it a coup, but it was an attempted coup. It didn't actually work. And that's more proof that our democracy has held. So I do not believe that we're going to another civil war. I believe that the rest of this is about things being shown. The perpetrators will be, I believe, revealed and made to come to justice. And if they don't do time themselves, they will be responsible for flipping on the ones who might do some time. Because remember, we're always working our way up the food chain when it comes to justice, right? The fact that they're they're bringing in Rudy. Rudy's at the top. Well, there you go. Next is who. He'll probably plead the fifth a million times. As he's on the news talking about Hillary pleading the fifth. I don't know that she did. I don't think she ever did. He was talking about people who plead the fifth. That's like mob bosses. Yeah, well, who's he talking about there? Could it be? God, remember the church lady on SNL? Crazy. So, okay, this chart is the directed solar arcs. This will go pretty quickly. And then I think I'll probably have to pause and change my battery in this before I can get to the July. Those charts will go more quickly because I'm just going to do the second hit of Pluto return in July, and then the last one will be from September, I think, or December. Yeah, July, September, and then September or December. So, but anyway, we'll get through the end of the year here. Okay, so with those directed solar arcs, what this does is it puts it works like progressions, but we do read all of the planets. So here we can see with Uranus had crossing over, being lined up and then cross over. This to me is another proof that this was when Derek Chauvin, and the and the Ahmaud Arbery murder trials. You know, this is the need for justice here. This is shaking up humanity and creating that need for justice. And it has come through for Derek Chauvin, and you know, it didn't work so well with Kim Potter, but yeah, something with that judge there, man. Let's see, what else with this chart? It feels like, you know, we have to go in and through. We have to go in and through before we can heal. And with, yeah, Neptune here in the 6th house of health and service, this has to do a lot with the, you know, the coronavirus epidemic. But that's all over the world. But it is affect, you know, definitely here for us. And then all of these planets, of course, that are progressed here, all in Pisces. This is actually, and then with the moon over, yeah, man, look at this. So Mars is moving this need to think in bigger terms for all of humanity. And then all of this stellium, this line up here, without giving detail to each planet because I need to go a little more quickly here, I just want to say this is the epitome of compassion and healing and dissolving the old and opening up to something bigger, especially with the Jupiter approaching the sun. Of course, the sun's moving forward too, but it's still. And then Mercury in this later degree of Pisces is more mature, is thinking more maturely. Yeah, and then Pluto up here at the midheaven. Wow. And it's been, you know, that's been going, that's been happening. Because remember in the progression, see how Neptune's up there at the top? Now we have Pluto. And so, yeah, again, it's like we do have to go in and through. And this would be more about healing our relationship, not only with others, but with justice. Yeah. Wow. But this has been going on, though, because it you know, it only changes 1 degree. And even through the end of this year, it'll just move 1 degree. But it's still up there. So this has been having this. We've been exposing the dark side and making room for the light. In think Libra equality, right? And think 9th house courts of law, and now 10th house, how our mission, USA's mission in life, and how we will either be in our integrity or not. Yeah. Okay. So that feels complete. Hold on. Let me change this battery real quick, and I will bring in this other. I will bring in the other charts. Okay. Hold on. Okay. So with these charts, I'm going to take you through. It's actually July, and then I have some secondary progressions that popped up that I thought were important. So I have something from September there, and then December 28th will be the 3rd Pluto conjunction, the end of it. So we're going to look at what's different in these charts that in comparison to the other charts. So, okay, so here we are, July 11th, and we can see that Pluto's still 27. No change there, right? But it's retrograde. So remember from the chart before, Pluto was direct, and now it's retrograde. Saturn is retrograde as well, so it's going to go back towards the south node. It won't go back far enough to conjunct, though. But so we're still revisiting our values. Remember, 2nd house is values and money, and this is our economy, right? And this has to do with our values around how we value each other. How about we value each other more so than our money, right? And then especially that's the case with Neptune in Pisces, getting ready to conjunct the, well, it's going to be years, but it's still, it's in orb of this south node where Pisces and Aries couldn't be further from, it's like Mars and Neptune couldn't be further from each other, but then again, Mars can move the energy to not think so selfishly and to open up to, helping our brothers and sisters, right? And if we can't, for anyone who can't donate or support or help, at least we can wish them the best, right? The best. And then from there, we also have, you can see how, I'm just going to go through the houses this way, because the sun just, it moves quickly. But in July, the sun will be shining over, approaching Mercury. So the sun in Cancer, which will be past another birthday for this chart, but on the 11th, it can bring in shining a light, energizing more about the way that we think, and the messages that we send out from within to everyone else. Because remember, natal Mercury in this 8th house is always, it's about knowing that together we're all better. It's very like family oriented, mostly, and all the diversity of family as well too. That's a nice, that's an interesting thing there. Okay, but let's see. So Pluto going through its second phase. So everything that I spoke about before is, Neptune's the same. There's no change there. Jupiter has moved over from the 4th house, or moved over into the 4th house. So again, more opening up and expanding more into, maybe, I'm hoping, and especially as Jupiter moves this way, because remember before Jupiter was over here, and we will have had in April, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, and that should have helped us open up and become more compassionate towards each other. But with Jupiter now over here in the 4th house, it's like a new attitude. I'm hoping this will bring in a new attitude towards our independence and all the good things about Aries, which is our courage and our power and our independence, and the ways that we can assert ourselves in the positive way. But sometimes with Aries, it can be about impulsiveness, but it's okay. It's like you take one step forward and sometimes 2 steps back. That's a normal Aries thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, Jupiter will connect here with Chiron. And notice how there's the Chiron return here happening. So we are still going to be going through it. There's the opportunity for healing our roots in like the foundation of America. The foundation of America can go through transformation, or can go through healing along with this transformation of our values. And then with Mars is going to move pretty quickly, but notice how it's going to catch up to Uranus. And notice how Uranus is already conjunct the North Node. We're all going through this. So we're all waking up to our path in life and to our true values, whatever they are for you. We're all individual, unique, in what matters most to you. But Uranus opposing the South Node here. Again, this is going to be, I feel like, some shocking sex scandals. But I'm hoping that this can be opening up to healing in a way to get rid of, money laundering, and who knows how many years it'll take before that can happen, but we're headed towards that. Of course, we've had the Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, and then most recently the Pandora Papers. We can see how in the USA's chart here, or in our Declaration of Independence, that speculative type of fifth house type of quality of like gambling, and gambling with like stock market resources, there can be something shocking that happens in this summer. So be very, very careful. Be very careful. And keep in mind how much of the stock market is tied to oil, big oil, right? And if things go wrong that way, think how much you could lose. So never put anything more in the stock market than you can afford to lose is the best rule of thumb. I myself have nothing in it, but then again, our economy really isn't, the ability to create money really isn't tied to the stock market. So I can't say for sure that I could just say that wealthy people could lose a lot of money. Let's just leave it that way. And that there's something that could happen there. So we might want to be very careful, or they need to be very careful. The rest of us can go about our merry way, headed towards bliss and love, and be in touch with those values that matter most to us, which I would hope would be love. So, okay. And then Mars moving forward, Uranus is going to sit here for a while, right? These two things. So the North Node is headed this way, and Uranus is headed that way. They're going to be tight for a while, and traveling together for a while, because this needs to help us, Uranus, wake up, be aware of what matters most, right? So if you're always headed towards love, you're always going in the right direction. Don't worry. Mars in Taurus heading this way is going to happen, pretty soon. It won't be too long before this is conjunct, and we will have even more energy going in the direction of what matters most to us. So I see that as being actually really good. And Venus up here, connecting with, or having already conjuncted before this date in July, this should help unify some dualistic splits in some people's minds where they're in that place of either or, right? I'm either bad or I'm good, or I'm either right or I'm wrong. Well, you know what? You can be wrong and still be good. You can make mistakes and still be fine, right? So, but there's opportunity for healing there. And that's especially true with Mercury crossing over the Sun. Yeah. I see these transits as being pretty darn good. Let's see. I'm looking now for more. There's some opposition there. Uranus will be coming into square. Let's see. Yeah, Uranus has to get up here to the 27-degree point before it would be in square to natal Pluto. And of course, Uranus rules our south node here. When Uranus gets to the 6th, yeah, that's that element in a square. We've got a challenge, but could be a strength. But again, waking up to see the beauty of transits. It's like first we get the transit of Uranus helping us on our path, and then it moves into the 6th house of the way we serve. This could help be very healing, because the 6th house, I forgot to talk about that, didn't I? In the natal chart, Uranus can represent soul shocks, and the 6th house can be the house of slavery. That's why I said everything I needed to say about it. I just didn't name that the 6th house is, can be slavery. But Uranus, by the time it gets here, this will be quite some time, but it's headed towards that direction of helping us to wake up to the challenges of needing to, still heal that old mindset of, too much wealth being in the hands of only like 10% of the world's population. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's see, anything else? Saturn at 24. Yeah, that's an inconjunct there. That's just such a minor aspect, actually. It just would be adjustments to our thinking. The lesson here is to not detach from our hearts and to think about how we're all connected. Let's see. Yeah, the moon on this day in Sag and having crossed over the ascendant will just, we could be more, with Sag it can be more intuitive and, optimistic and enthusiastic and more open-minded. But then sometimes it can have to do with religious in my way or the highway kind of thinking and wanting fame. Let's see, 21 degrees, it's a direct opposition to Mars. Yeah. On this day, there could be some emotional, impulsive. There could, to me it just feels like people could, be careful traveling if you do travel this day, because the moon in Sag, it can be beautiful to get you going in the right direction, but it can also be with other people. It could be that they're moving too quickly, and the mind is moving very quickly here, and especially with this Venus conjunction. Yeah, it's just would be, be careful. It could be challenging traveling, and be careful driving. Let's see, and it squares because it squares Chiron here. Oh, no, it doesn't. No. The square would be if it were in Capricorn. Well, that'll happen when the moon moves ahead. I probably shouldn't even mess with the moon because it's going to go quickly. It's going to go like every 2 days is going to move into a different, 2 or 2.5 days is going to change signs and move into a different house. So, okay, let's move forward from there. And the reason I wanted to look at this secondary progress chart is because, and this is September 26th, what I'm seeing here is that with Venus up here progressed past Saturn, this shows me that we've been moving in a good fashion or moving forward in a good way towards peace and equality. So I wanted you guys to see that. And then with down here with Pluto, see how progressed Pluto is, and again, it's generational, over this south node here. I feel like this is more of a good celebration of our differences, and especially because it's this south node. There's Venus is, with Venus. Well, my goodness, let's see. Yeah, progressed Venus is there's that 3 degree. Yeah, that's to the south node. Progressed Venus to the south node that's actually really good, and that's what has shifted. Let's see with this as well. Sorry, I'm still looking at this here because Mars went through there. Venus is up here, but then with the progressed Venus in this is Venus in Taurus is very, very natural in its own, because Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So this natural ruler up here to Saturn and Libra and Mars, this is good. very good. But then this square to the south node, yeah, there's an opportunity here to celebrate our differences and our uniqueness. The moon, like I said before, we're still in that new 28-year cycle where I feel like it can be a lot about protection and nurturing, because the moon is about, nurturing, and it's also, the moon can rule like our patterns of behavior. But in Aquarius, we're more free thinking, right? And it's all up to us, each one of us individually. But so, the challenge is to be careful of detaching and being apathetic, or thinking about what's best for, just for you alone, and letting go of your brothers and sisters. It's like we have to think about all of us together. And again, this is, like I was saying before, every 28 to 29 years, the progressed moon has a new cycle. So this is really important, how this is lined up here. Let's see, what else is important in this chart? With Jupiter over the sun, this is that, needing to protect and nurture each other, being sensitive to each other's needs, and especially because at 4 to 15 here, we've got a trine down here to the sun. Sun's at 17. So Jupiter trine, progressed Jupiter and the progressed sun are in a trine. But then the progressed sun is in a trine to the natal sun too. Or it already has been actually, because it's 17 to 13. Let's see. I'm drawn to this Venus here as like creating more safety and positive pleasure. I can definitely see that. And there's already the connection there. So like I said, I see the commonality. This is what's great, is when you can see how things line up in two different charts using two different methods, or same chart but using two different methods. Again, waking up to the soul shocks that of slavery that need to heal. But this could be freeing, because we've been waking up, so there could be some freedom that happens there in coming through. Let's see what is next. Now here we have December 28th. So the last, the end of the year, that last conjunction. And the only thing here, well, there's some things that are different, but primarily this lineup here of Venus getting ready to cross over, transiting Venus over natal Pluto, and Mercury's with Venus conjunct. So Mars has moved on, right? Mars is way up here, because Mars moves pretty quickly. And Mercury moves quickly too, but so it's not Venus conjunct Mars anymore. Now it's Venus and Mercury traveling together. So again, remember, Venus is values, unity, consciousness, blending the energies together, being thoughtful and caring, wanting to be, happy together. And in Capricorn, it can't, that's the thing. It can, and you guys have probably seen this because we had Venus retrograde. It's where you can make those decisions of who you're going to commit to and who you're not going to commit to. But again, we're all committing to our deepest values, so whatever they are to you. We're going to have that continuation on of exploring that. And the deeper what it means to you in your soul, like what will you commit to? What is your intrinsic, deep, innate integrity, your own sovereignty, and how we each work to heal ourselves, our inner world. That's the only power we really have. But everything's an inside job. So the more we're connected to those deeper inner values, the more we help heal help everyone else heal, and facilitate for their healing just by holding that consciousness on the planet. Let's see, and Saturn, yeah, still in the second house of values there, so things are the same there. Let's see. By the end of the year, this will be a nice, to have that, well, but it'd just be for the day, to have the moon, well, actually, yeah, maybe 2 days where the moon conjuncts Neptune, because it'll get on the other side of it too. And by the end of the year, you can see how Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is transiting. Jupiter is moving away, but it's right there on that south, not south node, but it's like a south node point, the IC, which is our roots. So healing our roots, healing our, having the courage to love is what I want to say about that. Having the courage to love. Love and just let be. Let's see, anything else here? Yeah, everything else I feel like I've already spoken to. Uranus in the fifth house transiting is still going to continue to keep. Notice how Uranus has moved past the north node. It's on the other side. But it's still going to, help us wake up to the power of our own ability to create reality, in our own lives, that we each, need to be self-responsible for the fact that we can create our own reality, right? Doesn't mean that when things go bad that there's anything wrong with you. That's the main thing. If people would just get that through their heads, that there's this mass consciousness level of wounding where we think that when things aren't going right for us, that there's something wrong with us. Like that we're somehow inferior or inadequate. And that's not the truth at all. The truth is that life on Earth is dualistic, but we are unitive, Venus, like unitive beings deep down inside. And I think we all have this deep cellular spiritual memory where in the spirit world from which we came, you can't even have a negative thought. And then from there, you're in this place of, you think of something and feel into something and bam, you have it. You're in it, right? But on Earth, it's not that way at all. Not at all. And then so we have this feeling, being human is like there's something intrinsically wrong with us. And that is what we have to heal. That is what we have to heal. And maybe that's why these dirty politicians have to keep going through so much until they can finally get to a place where they identify themselves with something a whole lot more than money and so-called power. Like what is true power, right? What is true power? That's what we all need to think about. So yeah, and then here's that Mars conjunct Uranus. Because Mars, it looks like obviously Mars went retrograde. So we have that happening again. Again, yeah, be careful about impulsiveness and thinking too quickly or making shocking statements. Mars in Gemini can just go so fast in the mind. The mind can go crazy. So getting, and we will have gone past Christmas and be moving into the new year. Things will be sped up. Even more so. We will be feeling like things are going more quickly. Let's see. Everything else feels the same, or it looks the same to me. Jupiter down here can definitely help heal, create more of a sanctuary in our roots that we can then move forward into in our outer world. Again, all these transits down to the bottom half of the chart. It's an inward focus all the way through the end of the year. So I'm going to close this up. And sorry if it was too long. I will do my best to get it time-stamped so you can always go back and look. Or if anybody wants to do that for me, feel free. Because I really want to get to that Jupiter-Neptune chart that's coming up, because that's happening in April when I get that done too, so that you can kind of watch them all together.
But anyway, thanks so much for hanging in there with me. Sending you lots of love and big, big hugs as always. Okay, you guys, take good care. Bye.